this is a problem. This is a problem. And people were calling him Chicken Little. It's like, oh, the sky's falling.
Oh, boy crying wolf or something like that. Yeah.
The sky fell. And
was this in the lead up to before the bankruptcy?
yeah, it was before. He was running against them, and they said, oh, it's just it's a political thing. You're just trying to get in there, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it happened.
What is it about human nature? And this feels like this goes back thousands of years and multiple empires when it comes to financial solvency, that we're not willing to address a problem until it becomes catastrophic.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's based on human nature.
Yeah.
And our instincts.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I'm your host, as always, Jason Thibodeau with the Mortgage Lounge. We always try to bring on interesting guests that, you can walk away from a conversation with a little bit more education than you had before. And on that note, I have with us today somebody who I've known for many years, actually.
Yes.
And he's a past client of mine. I guess I could say current client as well. And Paul Gorman, hello. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Jason.
Paul Gorman is a CPA. Paul Gorman is a financial coach, and his company is called Clearview Strategies. And I think we kind of got reintegrated together from maybe some of the content that I've been shooting on, what is it, Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, seeing your clips from this podcast.
And here you are. Now you're on it.
Holy mackerel. Be careful what you talk about.
You're in the spotlight now, Paul. But I just wanted to say that, I've known Paul, I don't know how many years it's been. It was certainly pre-COVID that we worked together.
Yeah.
And one thing that always struck me about you was, I can't say this about every client. You're just super kind and conscientious, right? If all my clients were like you, my life would be a whole lot easier. But also it came with a certain level of financial intelligence that I picked on really quickly. Mm-hmm. And tell them what you did for a living back then, because I think that kind of like sets the stage and helps people understand what it is you're all about.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. But first, I'd like to tell you about my impression of working with you, Jason.
Sure, thanks.
So,
hopefully it's good.
As often happens, I was referred to you from a real estate broker for a purchase I was making. I think it was in 2012.
Yeah, gosh, it's been over a decade.
I got on the phone with Jason, and I probably talked to 2 or 3 at that time. And Jason was, I'm going to use the word competent, and I don't mean it at the low level of the word. I just was so impressed with your competence, your financial knowledge. You immediately helped me feel comfortable with you handing over all my financial information to you to get a home mortgage on, one of the biggest purchases that we make in our life. And, I came back to you. You were always a straight shooter. The last thing I'll say is what impressed me most about you, Jason, when the rates were, changing all the time and they were going down, I would always check in with Jason, and I checked in with you one time, and you said, yeah, I can match that rate, but it really won't do anything for me. It really won't me any money. I'd be happy to do it, but and I said, you know what? I don't want to have you go through a bunch of make work to not make anything on it. But that really struck me. And, integrity, I believe, is huge in my book.
Yeah.
And to me, you exude integrity, transparency, excellence.
Oh, thanks,
and
Paul.
When as you mentioned, when I checked back into this, saw you with this podcast, I just was like, wow, okay. You talk about resilience in this industry.
Yeah.
That's huge. And so, that's why I reached out and I said, hey, I want to connect with you because of what I'm doing. but because of what you're doing. So that's a big part of why I'm here.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I really appreciate the acknowledgement on that. I've always been a less is more person, and only wanting to do a transaction with somebody if it makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
Like I talk myself out of business all the time. Maybe I'm not such a good salesperson, but it has to be a hell yes for the client, and it has to make sense. And I've always found that approach, right? It's maybe a little bit counterintuitive to the person who's trying to hard close somebody, but it's always, I've noticed it always comes back to me in the end in one way or another, right? And you plant enough seeds like that over time, and it manifests in the way that I think aligns for me. I'd rather do less business and have it be fully aligned with the way I like working and showing up in the world than like forcing my will and trying to get every last transaction where, maybe I'm not feeling authentic, or maybe losing sleep at night because it's just not the way I like to be.
Yeah. Right on. I love that.
But tell them about your background.
Okay.
I'm always so impressed with it,
So I met Jason when I was working at the Orange County Treasurer Tax Collector Office. And, they're the folks that, for one, you write your property tax payments to.
Right.
You can pay online, you can send a check, credit card, ACH, all those things. And I had been there for 20 years. When I met you, I'd probably been there for 16, 17 years. I started as a
long time.
I started as their accounting manager. It was just after the Orange County bankruptcy. And some of you older folks may remember the Orange County bankruptcy.
I do.
And
was that in the 80s or 90s?
it was 1984.
Yeah.
And I think, was it 84? I think it was 84. Could it have been? Maybe it was 90. It was actually 94, sorry.
Yeah.
And it happened not because of the typical way bankruptcies happen. It happened because of using investment leverage and betting that interest rates would go one way, and then they actually went the other way. So the Orange County Treasurer had basically a $7 billion investment portfolio.
It was like for their pension fund, or?
It's for the county. So when you think about the county, all of the county school districts are required to have their money on deposit with the Orange County Treasurer. All of the county agencies are required to have their money on deposit with the county treasurer. Could be, SSA, John Wayne Airport, animal control, the planning department, everyone.
When you say their money, are we talking about like retirement funds, or what are we talking about?
Everything. So
okay.
county general.
Oh, county general accounting.
County general, everything related to the county, as well as some specific funds. All the school districts.
Were they leveraging that money in an investment fashion, like in a risky way or something?
It was risky. They were using leverage. They had leveraged $7 billion up to $21 billion.
Wow.
And, when you're betting that interest rates are going to go one way and they went the other way, then they December 4th, I think, of 1994.
So the bonds, they were in lost value or whatever.
Yeah, Wall Street said, we want our money.
Wow.
They had reverse repurchase agreements. They had a lot of things that inverse floaters, a lot of really interesting instruments.
Derivatives.
Derivatives, you got it. Things in the black box, whatever. So they were upside down $2 billion. And, it went on from there. Ultimately, they got out of bankruptcy in 18 months, which was astounding.
Yeah, it is.
They sued brokers, bond counsel, CPA firms. They recovered probably close to $800 million. of that. It ended up to be about a $1.6 billion loss. They then had about $800,000 of debt that they paid off over 20 years, and it's all gone now. So
you have some really unique perspective having gone through that, I bet.
yeah,
From a financial perspective.
it was wild. I saw people that had their money in deferred comp plans that were worried.
Yeah.
We didn't have pension money, but we had deferred compensation
What was
plans.
that, 403B?
Yeah, it was 457 in this case.
Okay.
Teachers would usually be 403B,
Right.
but this was a little different. So anyway, we worked through all that. I helped set up the new accounting controls, the compliance standards, the reporting. We were audited, as you can imagine, and as we should have been, we were audited by everyone under the sun.
Yeah, the pendulum swings pretty far in the other direction after something like that.
Yeah. So, that's what I did. We created a very comprehensive report. Some people said you're just giving us too much information, but we were Orange County.
Yeah.
And we were ground zero
Yeah.
for that time. There were other municipalities that had issues also because people. What's really wild, I have a good friend, John Morlock, and he ran to be the Orange County treasurer against the existing treasurer. And he said, listen, guys, this is a problem. This is a problem. And people were calling him Chicken Little. It's like, oh, the sky's falling. The sky's falling.
Oh, boy crying wolf or something like that. Yeah.
The sky fell. And
was this in the lead up to before the bankruptcy?
yeah, it was before. He was running against them, and they said, oh, it's just it's a political thing. You're just trying to get in there, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it happened.
What is it about human nature? And this feels like this goes back thousands of years and multiple empires when it comes to financial solvency, that we're not willing to address a problem until it becomes catastrophic.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's based on human nature
Yeah.
and our instincts. It's our instincts to survive. So why do we want to make money? Well, yeah, it feels good to make money, but the intense instinctual drive are things that are built into us, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
The resistance of suffering, pain, wanting the dopamine spike, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And all of, we have amazing machinery, right? I believe our creator just did amazing things with this machinery.
Yeah.
And it's there to protect us and for our species to survive.
Survival, yeah.
Unfortunately, if we're not using the other aspect of what we were given, the freedom to choose consistent with our values, to choose consistent with kindness, generosity, courage, integrity, those things that may not show up when we're surviving. And I'm sure you see it. I see it every day in social media, in politics. Everyone is, 90 to 95% of our movements and actions are to survive.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look pretty
No.
a lot of times.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's a very primal thing that's been in our DNA
That's it.
for many, many thousands, if not millions of years.
and it's ordinary,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Can I blame someone for doing something that's ordinary? No.
It's almost to be expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we have is an opportunity that when we see that's running the show, when my fear's running the show, my fear of not having enough, my fear of not being enough, my fear of looking bad, when that shows up, it's like, oh, there it is. Thanks for protecting me.
Yeah. Which can show up in a lot of ways, right? It could be avoidance of reality,
Exactly.
the old brushing under the rug routine,
Yeah.
or the head of the ostrich in the sand,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I could talk about this one topic all day, Jason.
Yeah. We can.
And there's one thing about it that I really love to share with people is that yes, it is ordinary. And given that it's ordinary, how can I judge you,
Right.
myself,
Right.
anyone else for acting in that way?
It's part of the human experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where it is. So what does that do? Well, it gives me compassion for everyone else that is struggling with it, that's in fear of whatever it is. And
Their relationship with money in this case,
it's money, it's people, it's
the way they view themselves.
yeah. Oh, it's just fascinating. And I will tell you, I think you and I shared on our kind of catch-up conversation that I spent a good portion of my life trying to figure out, well, why do I do the things that I don't really want to do?
Your programming, your defaults.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's good awareness.
Yeah. And so where did I get them? Well, I think got them as a kid. One thing that there was a quote by, I'm not a Bible scholar, I don't want to say that, but this one quote from early, I came across it. It was about Paul, Saint Paul. I was raised Catholic, not so much now, but he said that exact same thing. Why is it that I don't do the things that I know I should do? And I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
I thought, well, if it works for him, it's got to be okay for me.
Yeah.
You know? You know, I spent a lot of time trying to find out, why do I act the way that I do, right? And yeah, I got some really good ideas about that. But just like anything else, then I'm left with the what. What do I want to do with that? And for me, that whole process led to personal growth.
Yeah.
You know, exploring, you know, why relationships weren't working.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, please.
I like this path we're going down.
Good.
This is a very fascinating topic for me, and I can really relate to it from my own life's experience. I posed the question earlier, why does it take something catastrophic for the, Orange County Tax Assessor's Office to do anything? In this case, bringing it back to the individual and the human aspect, was there something in your life that had increased your suffering so exponentially that you realized you couldn't continue with the old way of being?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that's what it is, right? Like people are on cruise control, living out their defaults and their programming in their mind. And a lot of times it's just very unconscious. They don't even know they're doing it. And now you got to a place where you're starting to question the behavior patterns. Was there a catalyst that had you waking up to that question at all, or what was that?
Sure.
If you don't mind sharing.
Oh, I'll be happy to. To preface it, I've used the word ordinary, there's like our ordinary self, and then perhaps there's our best self. Paul the ordinary and Paul the good.
Yeah.
And the only difference between those two is choice. Paul the ordinary is run by the natural default settings. Paul the good, when you add choice to that, that's when I get the best stuff in my life. You could also call it human animal and human spirit. Right?
One takes being intentional, the other takes being asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, and it's ordinary. So
removing the judgment of it, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So I think when I was in about my mid-30s, I was a CPA. I had been in practice as doing tax work. I got certified. I got married. I had kids. I bought my house. So it's like it was all aligned, right?
Doing what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. But it wasn't.
The American dream.
It wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why.
When you say it wasn't working, what do you mean by that?
It's a great question. So one, my relationship with God wasn't working. And it's obviously on my side, right? I wasn't connecting the way that I wanted to. I wasn't spending the time to do it. My relationship with my wife wasn't working. My relationship with my kids wasn't working. My relationship with my partners in work and how I saw myself as a professional wasn't working. I had a self-image of myself that wasn't conducive to being confident and not being afraid of making mistakes and not being afraid to fail. So
I think a
then what
lot of people
happens?
can relate to this, by the way.
Yeah,
Right? So you're kind of going through life, if I'm hearing you correctly, checking all the boxes, doing all the things that, society almost somewhat not requires but expects.
yeah,
And while you're in that on a day in and day out the basis, your experience is not great.
yeah,
Let's call it.
yeah,
You're not really having a good time.
yeah, and just wondering, well, why? Why am I doing this? I'm an intelligent guy, not the most, not the least. I got the education. I've got a family, my wife, and I just wasn't I wasn't happy. I was burnout at work because I kept on pushing. I mean, rather than going home and spending time with my family, I would spend time in the tax code and researching and trying to be better, trying to learn as much as I could.
So you were seeking.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were seeking to try to figure out what was going on, and maybe that would be a solution.
I mean, my wife and I went to Marriage Encounter. We ended up doing some counseling, but it was, I had the image that that I was frozen emotionally, and that I needed to take some action to start to thaw out, to become real, to rather than be that person that the term masks comes up a lot,
Sure.
right? So if I'm always wearing a mask and I'm here to try and do everything that I think you want me to do, and I forget about me and I don't spend the time that I need, self-care, exercise, food, weight was something for me that was one of the signals, right? Go up, take a diet, go down. Go up, take a diet, go down. And, after a while that stopped. So I actually went to a counselor who was a 12-step counselor. She said, okay, stop drinking, don't do anything, let's go to AA, go to OA, Overeaters Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and see what you think. I ended up going to Overeaters Anonymous. I got a lot out of it. I continued to do counseling because I had this idea that I was broken. If my life isn't working, I must be broken, right? Well, I was just a human being, with a human experience.
Doing the best you knew how.
Had created higher than reasonable or realistic expectations for myself that included perfectionism, that caused me to beat the heck out of myself when I didn't meet those expectations, or I was afraid that you would think I didn't meet those expectations.
So a lot of concern about other people's opinions, and then your opinion of yourself, viewing it as you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once again, I know the whys, ordinary, normal. It's just, so that got me on the journey. I remember doing couples counseling with my wife. It was probably the most challenging part of my personal growth.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah, please.
So I think, as we head into what that work looked like for you, what is really difficult, I think, for so many people, because it is human nature, is the moment, you start to have the awareness of, hey, this isn't working, and you're dealing with a lot of suffering, and you're ready to try to figure out how to, feel better. Then the real work starts.
Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned that was difficult. And I think that what I want to point out to people listening to this is there's no way around these issues, right? You do have to go through them. And the act of going through them, at least initially, and for probably a good period of time, what I've referred to them as is dark tunnels.
Yeah.
And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but the point is it does take some heavy lifting.
Yes.
Right. And it's going to feel kind of rough.
Yeah.
But just like anything else, like you show up to the gym for the first time after not working out for years.
Yeah.
How's that going to feel? Pretty awful. Right. But why do we continue past that initial stage of pretty heightened suffering? Because within the first 30 days of consistency, you're already noticing a pretty significant improvement, right?
Yes.
But it's that first 30 to 60 days of training that people are like, I just don't want to deal with it, right? And that's the piece that has people, skating through life a little bit still on surface level stuff, because there's avoidance too of the reality of maybe it's like, I know I need to change, but I know what kind of work that's going to involve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how that lands for you.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And as you so adeptly pointed out, it's through some aspect of pain that we become willing to do the work.
Yeah, because you're no longer brushing under the rug.
Yeah.
You're looking at what's really going on.
Yeah, this may be a little too technical, but I love this progression that when it's kind of like when we don't know what we don't know, it's like unconscious incompetence. Okay, so we just don't know. We don't know it's causing a problem. I didn't know it was causing a problem for what was causing the problem for me in my relationship with my kids and with my partners and, as a CPA, as a man. So once you see what it is, then you have conscious incompetence. So that's really uncomfortable when you see the things that you're not doing, and it's just, how do I fix this? How do I get out of where I am? And, it takes the work. So the next level is conscious competence, right? You do the work, you get to the point where you are trying things, you're taking advice, you're reaching out to people, you're talking to people, you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Therapy, whatever it is. It could be, the gym is a perfect example. So then it's still it's still a little uncomfortable because you have to take action. It could be just breathing, remembering to breathe down into my belly.
More body awareness.
Yeah. And that was a huge one for me. So the last thing is unconscious competence, where you do it and you don't even think about it anymore.
It
right?
becomes your normal way of being.
Yeah. And I think we often think, well, once I see it, I should just be able to be fine now, right? Like awareness, yeah. But as you say, that's when the work begins. And for me, I did work like that in many different avenues, many different directions, and that kind of was my hobby.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching football. I wasn't watching sports. I wasn't watching anything like that. I mean, occasionally, but I was really invested in clearing the things that were standing in my way in relationships, self-image, confidence, and it was a long process. I hired I worked with therapists. I had an executive coach for a number of years, and it really made such a difference for me.
Well, you mentioned AA and Overeaters Anonymous too, and like what you're pointing out though is all the things that you had to do, right, to turn the needle.
Yeah,
and how long would you say? Not that you're ever graduated from personal development or life, because I know that's not true. The mountaintops continue to be climbed. It just maybe gets a little bit sweeter and sweeter as you go. But like, was there a point where like you felt like maybe you had turned the corner on a lot of the old programming, in terms of how much time that actually took for you?
So when I was working with a really, really great executive coach, he told me, he said, Paul, when you see yourself the way that I see you and others see you, my work is done.
Ah, that's great.
And I'd say that happened within the last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long of a period of time did that
So
represent?
that's probably 30, since the beginning, it's probably been over 30 years.
Yeah.
A lot of knowledge, a lot of awareness, but really seeing myself through not only other people's eyes, but really starting to value myself for who I am, which it really brings me back to the reason why I opened my business again.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured there was I think you just laid it out for us. But what was the big piece that had you wanting to come back into financial coaching and the CPA work? You're obviously very well equipped. I'm sure you're going to be showing up and are showing up very differently today than you would have been 5 or 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah. I'm going to back up just a little bit.
Sure.
I shared this with you. In February 2020, I was working. I had spent 4 years working for the Orange County Superior Courts. I'd left the Orange County Treasurer. I was the director of accounting, had about 50 staff, a number of different things we were doing, at a budget of over $200 million.
Wow.
And my oldest son, at age 41 with 3 children, died of complications of type 1 diabetes. And
When was this?
so February 19th, 2020.
Oh, that wasn't that long ago.
No. And
He was 41?
He was 41. Yeah.
No.
So, as you say, pain.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was I said, you know what, work. I
This
really
was right
did.
as COVID was hitting too.
Yeah, yeah. I really hadn't planned to retire, but I thought I am going to retire. I'm going to make myself available for his children, which, the timing, as terrible as it was, COVID started about a month later.
Right.
I was able to help with his daughter, my granddaughter, and sit with her for months while she did COVID school at home, video schools.
It's incredible, Paul.
And I would be the first one to say that I was pretty worthless. I could not have done my job with any, not and have felt good about it.
Yeah.
Right. We all have a certain level of, we can be on cruise control, but I just know that I wouldn't have felt good
Well, you
about it.
experienced a lot of trauma losing your son.
Yeah. So that took a while. I reached out to a grief counselor I'd worked with, earlier in my life, and she said, "Hey, it's COVID. We can do this online."
Yeah.
I worked with her online. At one point in working with her, she shared that she does a special type of counseling called Imago. It uses a tool called dialogue, which is a very kind of a non-threatening way to communicate, between people in relationships, spouses, could be colleagues, coworkers, anything. And she was sharing that they had a new, rather than being a counselor, they had something called an Imago professional facilitator. And I had an inkling that one of the things I wanted to do when I retired was to be a coach, to coach people, to share everything that I had learned that opened up my eyes and opened up so many ways of thinking for me. And I was always sharing it with people, hopefully when they ask for it. But
Yeah.
if you ask my kids, I had one of my kids say one time, "Dad, can you be a dad right now instead of a coach?" Okay. I get it. I'm idealistic. So anyway,
I understand, though.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I got certified as an Imago professional facilitator, and I learned some of the tools of when I do coaching now, for example, I give someone a lead line. They say, well, when I think about this financial aspect, I feel, and they repeat that and share it. I mirror back to them.
Yeah.
And then I say, am I with you? My goal is to be over on their island with them, right?
Yeah.
And they say, well, except for this. I say, okay, great. Is there more? And maybe they'll share more, maybe not. But I believe that it creates a very safe space that goes beyond just answering a question. So anyway, I had this certification, and as part of my project, I'm really going into detail here.
That's great. We're good.
As part of my project to be certified, I thought, well, what should I do it on? Well, I'll just bring it back to money. I did 3 2-hour workshops called Money and Me. We started with money mindset, and using some of the Imago tools in a group to have people using a lead line share some of their things about money. As a child, what were their first memories, and they would share about that. And then people in the group would mirror them. And it's like, then you see lights go on.
So you're doing role playing and practice, basically, yeah.
And so very authentic, very realistic. I went on through budgeting and, debt payoff and credit ratings and light investment. I'm not an investment advisor.
Yeah.
And I got really good response. Small groups, but really good response.
Well, especially if you're approaching it from this what did you call it? The Imago.
So it's zero. The goal is zero negativity.
Yeah.
And I think I said it a little different. But
but that's important, I think. One of the most frightening things outside of maybe public speaking for people is revealing their finances,
Yeah.
And certainly school, whether it's grades or junior or high or academia in the college world, they're not teaching any of this.
Yeah.
They don't even spend any time on it, right? And if they do, it's maybe a throwaway class or something like that. So it's just a weird shame in our society where it's interesting because we all know that at the end of the day, finances is probably the main cause for divorce, financial pressure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
And it has people probably, if you know anything about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? When you are struggling to just get your base one layer of needs met of food and shelter, right? Your level of consciousness and ability and bandwidth for growth on a personal level, spiritual, emotional, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Because leave me alone. I got to figure out how to pay my rent. Right? That's kind of the piece. And then on top of that, the society doesn't educate us as a societal norm. And so we're all embarrassed because we're all viewing ourselves from a negative lens. Right? The way you probably were earlier on in your life as you were describing. So it's kind of a very vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And it's probably very hard and difficult for people to get out of.
Yeah, I think you're 100% over the target right there. And not only does our education system invest resources to train people, the media and movies and everything else actually trains them in ways that are not beneficial. So, for example, get the new car, buy the new clothes, buy the quality brands, but do this, do that. And so then this unrealistic standard, we're always comparing, right? And well, to compare is to despair, but
I like that.
We're always comparing, and if we're comparing to these unrealistic standards, it's like, I think my wife teaches in Compton Unified School District in 5th grade. And you start to see a shift where maybe a number of years ago, maybe a lot of them wanted to be, a lot of the students wanted to be sports figures. Well, there's still that, but now they want to be social media influencers, YouTube influencers, you know, and so we're always looking at, once again, human nature, right? It's our instincts, survival, you know. We are designed to be basically calorie-saving beings. We want to do things the easiest way possible.
Get rich quick.
To get the result.
Yeah.
Just normal human.
Win the lottery.
Yeah. So when you look at things that way, it's like you've got this push and pull. I just did a post on a few of my different social media platforms, and I said, you know, I have on my heart that our kids need support in finances, not only because they don't receive the education, but because of where our economy is now. You know, my kids can't afford my house. You know, can I do something about my kids? Yeah, maybe. But how many people
Can
the ability to do what, you know,
Right.
what I can do? And I just asked, you know, what is there to do? Please, no negativity, you know, just, and I got these great responses. I think I'll summarize the responses and do a post with just that. But, you know, and what can we do? Well, education is one thing, but bringing it into our homes, you know, as parents, we weren't raised with that education, most of us, but a lot of people in this post said their parents did this, their parents did that. We do this, we do that. And when is the time to start? When our kids are young, right? Doesn't mean you can't start now if they're older.
Learning these healthy behavior patterns early.
Right.
Yeah.
So our kids
Same reason they can learn another language at a young age.
Yeah. And, you know, our kids have a really, I think they have a really tough mountain to climb.
Can I ask you, are you doing classes for children?
Not right now.
I think you might be onto something. We have about 10 minutes, by the way, because we got somebody at 12:30. But I love the way this conversation is going, because I think, you know, we can talk about, hey, what was the new tax bill, and, you know, mortgage interest deduction and PMI, and that is all important, right? But I almost feel like until, as a human being, we're addressing these root issues, some of this stuff doesn't even matter. Right. Now, sure, we want to be strategic with our CPA tax planning, and we'll have you make sure that everyone's aware of how to get a hold of you and where to find you online and social media. But like, you know, my kids we chose for at least K through 8, we chose Waldorf here in Costa Mesa.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, because, you know, no screens, and, you know, the goal of Waldorf is to try to get to when they're at the end of their education with Waldorf, they're not good at just taking a Scantron test, right? They're independent adults with grit, right? That's the methodology. Is like they want to actually have somebody who you could plop in anywhere in the world and they'd be okay. And I think that, you know, what I would love to see is you heading in that path towards the Waldorfs in different communities and schools, having these discussions with teachers and parents, and also obviously children, with the message that they can digest and understand. But I think you're onto something, kind of having a light bulb moment here with that. That's pretty cool.
This is the way that I think about it now, Jason. I have this great toolbox, right? Accounting, tax, personal growth, financial literacy, you know, everything that comes along with that. So I have a strong desire to work with individuals and businesses that need that kind of support. And that can include where they have children, helping them in that area. On a second aspect of that, I'd like to have either a no-cost solution where, you know, I can go talk to groups, where I can have groups for
Your way of giving back.
teens, Exactly. Perhaps charging people something makes more sense because if someone doesn't pay anything for it,
They're not feel like they're getting the value.
they very often don't see
Going
value.
back to basic human nature.
and they won't show up. So anyway, I I feel like that's the thing that we need to do, and part of the education process is to get to parents as well as.
Yes. It's not just the kids; it's also the parents. You're right.
I have a talk at a Boy Scout Court of Honor next Sunday, and I probably won't bring finances too much into it, but it'll certainly be values and commitment and working in our communities and giving back. And, the values of learning those things as children, and finances are, it'd be wonderful it wasn't part of it, but it is.
It is. You do have to learn it. Paul, I feel like we need to have more than one conversation on camera, by the way, because this is a lot, and in a beautiful and a good way. I mean, and I can really pick up and sense the fact that you really have not only been through a lot in your life, but you've also responded with choosing to dive into the work.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring. I'm really sorry about your son. My condolences to you.
Thank you.
And it's really beautiful what you did for your family and your grandchildren. Just to acknowledge you for that. It's obvious to me you have a lot to bring to the table. I think we probably should have maybe a longer series of conversations around this, and we can be intentional around that. Long run, we'll figure it out. But because we have to wrap up, because we're limited on time, can you just maybe let them know how to get a hold of you?
Sure.
And we'll include the links on the podcast episode too, but go ahead and let them know.
Yeah. So, one, I'm on LinkedIn. If you search for Paul Gorman, CPA, you'll find me there. It has a background on my, where I've been, what I've done. Social media, I have my regular personal accounts that I sometimes do business stuff on. You can look for the business Clearview Strategies, and it's a little bit different spelling, CLEARVUE Strategies. My website, clearviewstrategies.net. My phone is there. I'm happy to spend a half hour with anyone.
That's great.
I have, clarity calls, I call them, that they can book. I'm happy to send to real estate agents and people in the mortgage industry, a summary of things that I brought with me to, things to key in on in the next few months before year end, as well as some of the changes. I just really, it's important to me. Everyone says it, I think, to make a difference.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I really do believe I have to use these skills, talents, abilities, awarenesses, personal growth with people that are living normally, but unfortunately, very often fear is running the show rather than truth.
Yeah. In other words, if you'd like to feel better on a day in and day out basis, you should call Paul. Paul, thank you very much for joining us today. That was really, really fantastic. One of my favorite recent episodes. So I appreciate you for taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Thanks for the opportunity.
All right. This won't be the last time. We'll do another round or 2 or 3.
All right. Thanks.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.